Shifter is a 2019 horror film that is brought to us from Brazil yet again. I just watched another one called The Black Forest. I think like back to back with this, or really close together. So, and both are 2019 horror films. Black Forest is on Prime, and this one is a Shudder exclusive. I think it's exclusively on Shudder, but that is where I watched it. And I will say that this is a pretty damn good flick, and I absolutely recommend it. Now, this is about a morgue attendant, and he has the ability to communicate with the dead. Now, he is aware. We don't really get to explore how he's doing this and how he knows some kinds of rules to it, whatnot. Doesn't really matter, I guess, but he knows he's not supposed to use this information and exploit it or talk to anyone about it. And there's a circumstance that arises that he's not so fond of, and so he wants to use some information to his advantage to get vengeance. And of course, this all goes horribly wrong, and now he's literally haunted by the past. This film ends on a really strong note. I think that that's probably its strongest suit for me. Like, endings are so important, and I thought that the darkness of this ending, where it all ended up, was really cool. My only major gripe about the film would be the use of the faces when the dead talk to him. There's like CGI enhancements, and the best I can explain it is it reminds me of some of the faces in the Haunted Mansion at Disneyland, where they like project the face onto like a bust and it talks. Like, that's kind of how it looks at times. Other times it actually looks good and kind of effective and creepy, because it's like the face looks deader than a normal, like, just makeup and a face talking. Like, it almost looks like the face has like rigor mortis, and like it moves around very odd. And I'm like, okay, I get what they're going for. And while I like when it looks like this sometimes, I also don't like it at other times. So maybe just tweaking the effects on the times where I didn't like it to make it look more like this, and I would have never had a problem with it, because it was something I was back and forth on. I was like, oh, that kind of looks really cool. Oh, that's creepy. You know, I've never seen it look like that before. And then it would be the same thing, but not as good. So it would be like very jarring and kind of taking me out. And like it kind of rocked back and forth. That was my impression anyways. That's how I got throughout the film. That's nor here nor there, though. Shoddy CGI, I don't give a shit. Shudder had a movie last year called Terrified, that had some rocky CGI throughout it, and it was like my number 6 of last year because it was freaking fantastic. So the CG and whatever that they use there, not a huge deal. Not a deal breaker by any means. But the performances are all good. Now, of course, it's in another language, so there's a little bit of a lost in translation thing going on here. But from what I can tell, the performances all felt solid. And I did like where the story ended up. We don't, you know, with these kinds of movies, we've seen this stuff before, like people who can communicate with their corpses. You know, somebody who works in the morgue who can talk to people who are dead. What was that Christina Ricci movie where she's dead and she's talking to the dude? She's naked at a bunch in it, so that's what I remember. But we've seen this, but I definitely think this is worth a watch. It's got like a 6.2 on IMDb, absolutely warranted. Good flick. I absolutely hope everyone checks it out. If you have Shudder, there's tons of stuff on Shudder right now between Bliss, this, Miss, Tis. No, there's tons of rad stuff on there right now, so definitely check them out. Definitely check this out and let me know what you think. So anyways, adios.